Now that is what I call the Goro Effect. And if you want to know how to do that in your own videos, you've come to the right place. It's named the Goro Effect after Goro, who was one of the monstrous villains in Mortal Kombat, the video game in the 90s, who had 4 arms and could crush his opponents with a single blow. You can use this technique anywhere. I've been using it for the last 10 years, putting arms on Doritos bags, arms coming out of necks, and even putting a bunch of arms on weird Vat19 videos where I happen to be a producer-director. Now in the 1990s, they actually did the Goro technique practically in the movie Mortal Kombat using animatronics, but since we don't have those, we're gonna use our good old trusty green screen. First thing you wanna do is to light and shoot your subject. I'd recommend not having too much motion, otherwise it's gonna be harder to actually attach your arms to where you want to, and you'll need tracking points for that. Next thing you wanna do is to shoot the green screen, basically in same exact lighting so it all matches. Then, take your footage over to After Effects. You're gonna wanna go ahead and drag your footage on into your project. And I also like to rename my files, just so I don't get them confused. I'm gonna call this top one, let's see, I'm gonna call it green screen. So I know I shot green screen with my arms, just moving around that I want to be kind of animated. And then my other layer, I'm gonna go ahead and rename, call that Atom and Plate. So once that's in, I just simply drag it into my onto my timeline, and I'm calling this top layer my green screen left arm, and I'm gonna make that purple. So I know I'm doing my left arm first. And below that, of course, I've got my atom. I went ahead and made a plate shot, which is just a duplicate of the original layer, but you don't really need to do that unless you have stuff you need to cut out. So I've added an adjustment layer, and I'm adding lumimetry color to that. This is just to help me with my keying. You don't have to do it, but it's free at Vision Color, so might as well. You can do any color light you want. And then I'm using key light right here. So yeah, go into your screen matte settings, adjust your clip black. I'm putting that 75, my clip white 93, but it depends on your green screen footage. And then I'm bringing up my screen softness a little bit, and I'll just shrink my mask a tiny bit, and that looks good enough. You can tweak your settings per your green screen footage. Obviously the key is to get your green screen as well and evenly lit as possible. So I'll draw a simple mask around my green screen arm, and I go into my scale settings just because I shot my green screen arm a little bit closer to the camera in the same lighting, which is important. I'm scaling it down to about 71%, and I'll drop that right where I want it to be on top of my body. That looks pretty good, aside from my whole shoulder that's just kind of jabbing in there. And we'll get into that blending in just a second, which is pretty much the key to this whole technique. It's just smoothing and blending with layers upon layers and a little bit of level adjustment. So yeah, I'm just gonna tweak my position and make sure that looks pretty good. It's looking pretty good. Oh yeah. I am gonna be one scary boy when this is all done. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing on my other arm, which I've named green screen right. And I'll just move that down, kind of adjust my keyframes and position it where I want it on my body. Now here's a side note: if you are gonna have a lot of motion with your subject, if it's a human or another or an inanimate object, I would recommend adding some tracking points when you're shooting that onto your subject. Maybe some little white pieces of tape with black X's on them, so you can track on your arms or whatever you want to be jutting out from your person. So I didn't really feel I needed to do that for this one, but there you go. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing I've done is I've duplicated my original layer, my atom plate, and I am just drawing a simple mask over that duplicate. I've deleted my last mask, and once that's drawn, just adjust my positions. As you can see, I'm pretty much just putting this right on top where I want it to cover that shoulder. And what I'm gonna do with some fancy blending, I'm gonna tweak my position of this arm a little bit so it's in there a little bit further. I'm gonna, you can see it's kind of leaking in there a little bit. I'm just gonna tweak my mask just a scotch and adjust it as needed as you play throughout your project file. Yeah, that's looking pretty darn good. So, I've duplicated my layer again. I'm gonna rename this. And I'm just calling this my green screen left 2 because I'm actually gonna delete that mask again. And I'm gonna go into my project, start another mask. That's kind of creepy right there. Go down, and this is where the blending gets pretty intense, and you can do this as many times as you like to get it to look just right. I am going to create a mask just right here, and where I would imagine the pit of this guy's arm connecting to the body would be. And I go down to my color correction, and I'll go down to levels, if I can find it. Boom, levels. And I am just going to bring my levels down until, boom, they're matching pretty darn well. That's looking pretty good. We crush the blacks just a little bit more. And this is based on just simply looking at the lighting and knowing that the shadow kind of falls darker in that corner based on my actual left arm. So I'm just kind of trying to match it to that. I'm gonna add a bunch of feathering just to kind of smooth it out. It's looking pretty good. And you know what? I'm thinking I'm gonna do one more of these masks. Same process. I just duplicated that layer, made another green screen arm layer. And this mask, I am just going to do some level adjustment as well. Checking, adjusting the position of the mask, make sure it kind of stays exactly where I want it. And adding a bunch of feather to that. This is going to be the darker crevice of my armpit, and I feel it needs to be brought down even more. And yeah, take it down to there. That's looking pretty good. And pretty much it's the exact same process on the other side. I just add another layer. Boom. Do a little mask around my arm. Tweak it. Feather it a lot so it looks nice and well blended in there. And then I'm going to bring down my exposure. And that's pretty much the gist of doing the Goro effect. It's a pretty simple technique to do, just takes a little bit of finessing in After Effects. And if you've done this before and have your own tricks of the trade, please leave your comments below. Stick around for more tutorials, more travel videos, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this and more travel videos, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss out.